Candyman tells the story of Anthony McCoy as an artist who finds his new muse in the myth of the Candyman, a horror legend rooted in the now gentrified neighborhood of Cabrini Green in Chicago, set 30 years after the events of the original horror classic film. This sequel slash soft reboot is directed by Nia DaCosta. It is rated R, and it is a runtime of 1 hour 31 minutes. So it's pretty quick. This movie was pretty fun. It has a lot of positives. First off, just the casting in general. The great Yahya Abdul-Mateen II from Watchmen. He also played Black Manta and Aquaman. He's fantastic. He's really fun to watch. If you haven't seen him in Watchmen, please go check that out. It's such a good show. But he brings a lot of character to Anthony here. This movie is written by Jordan Peele in part, so there are some comedic beats, which I'll get to in a little bit. But it brings that flavor of a little bit of Get Out and Us that worked there. It doesn't work as well here all the time with some of the jokes. But Yahya definitely brings the character of Anthony to life. And there are a lot of cool connections to the original film as well, which I won't spoil. But the casting as well is great for Teyana Paris. You may have seen her in WandaVision. But she's fantastic as well. All the characters and all the actors are pretty well fleshed out for this horror sequel. I gotta give a kudos to the sound mixing as well. Sound and audio is so important for a horror movie to build tension and really make those jump scares count. Jump scares are usually pretty easy to predict when they're going to happen, how they're going to happen. And there were a couple that were a little predictable in this one, but there were a few that caught me off guard. And it's always nice to get that great audio experience and see it used to full effect to really try and scare you as much as you can. Cinematography, also fantastic. The opening credits is great. It's all used with like mirrors. The opening title cards are all backwards. I thought something honestly was wrong with my theater projection at first. I was about to go talk to an employee, but then the film was fine. So it's all done for style. It's pretty cool playing with the idea of reflections, like the myth of Candyman. So if you go see this in theaters, do not worry about the reverse title cards. But the cinematography is pretty cool. There is one particular shot. I won't spoil what happens in the scene, but a slow zoom out of an apartment window, and you see what's happening inside the apartment as the camera slowly zooms out, and you see the entirety of Cabrini Green and the cityscape. That was really effective, really cool looking. Just some cool camera work, as well as using cool camera work for the reflections. So Candyman essentially is this legend where if you say his name 5 times in a mirror, he appears and kills you. And so you always see Candyman in reflections, similar to the original film. So they use a lot of cool camera work to get those reflections. He's positioned pretty creatively in some scenes. So it's fun to kind of pick out and see where you can see Candyman when he's about to kill someone. Speaking of the kills, there are a lot of them. They're pretty gory, and some of them are pretty creative, or cringe-inducing, rather. So if you're not a fan of gore, it's not too over the top in this, but there are some creative kill scenes that are structured and set up pretty well for maximum horror effect. There is also some great cinematography regarding the shadow puppetry. So a lot of the background or an exposition is done via these shadow puppets that tell the story of Candyman, his history, and also kind of recap the events of the original film. Going into this, I thought this was just going to be like a reboot of Candyman. I didn't know that it was also kind of a sequel to that original film, which is pretty cool. A lot of the time when they make, real-time sequels like this, where the movie is released and takes place 30 years after the original film, sometimes it falls apart. But here, I think it was used to great effect. Again, like I said, creative kill scenes and a smart commentary. A lot of the story revolves around this gentrification of this neighborhood from the original film. Cabrini Green used to be the slums and the projects, and now it's like this up-and-coming nice apartment complex that's been gentrified. So there's a lot of class and race commentary there. Again, similar, if you've seen Jordan Peele's previous work with Get Out and Us, you are familiar with his style. Some of it with the commentary, the social commentary, can be a little on the nose, but it's used pretty well here. It's a nice extra flavor to this movie's recipe. And it links to the original film pretty well. There are a lot of callbacks to the original 1992 film. Some of the negatives now. The ending is a little bit abrupt. I thought this was going to go for like another 15-20 minutes, but it just kind of ends. So be warned. There is some cheesy acting and dialogue in some spots. Like I said, some of Peele's comedy doesn't really work in some of the areas, but it's nothing that really tarnishes the movie too much. I do wish it was a little bit scarier. So as far as like actual scares or, having chills afterwards, this isn't the most hardcore horror movie I've seen. But I definitely recommend you go check it out. If you like horror, if you've seen the original, or even if you haven't seen the original, you can still digest this pretty well. So for Candyman, I would give this a score of 3.5 creepy honeybees out of 5. I'm Brandon K, making your day. Check out my other reviews. Click the like and subscribe button. I appreciate it. Take care.